Hello, my name is Kiriath, Herald of Nurgle, and nearly cured human plague bearer, and today we're going to take a look at the Tzeentch and Nurgle faction focuses. Oh yes, so we've already covered the Khorne one, and in fact the Tzeentch one came out as I finished recording the Khorne one, so we're just going to slam Tzeentch and Nurgle together, best friends as they are. Maybe not. Yeah, we're just going to look at both, because that is the sensible thing to do. Saves doing it in two videos, make a nice long rambly video instead, which actually might not be better anyway, but that's what we're doing. So let's start off with Tzeentch, which I'll be honest seems to be kind of short again. I don't apologise for that, it's not my fault, it's their fault, don't blame me. But the Nurgle one, unsurprisingly, seems to have a bit more meat to it. Now I haven't actually looked at any of these abilities, so this will be a first. This looks like a reaction video, isn't it? No, it's not. I hate reaction videos. Anyway, let's have a look. So first off, we of course have the Locus of Trickery, which we already know what that does, but we will have a quick recap of that. Roll 2 dice at the start of each fight phase and discard the highest result. Until the end of that phase, each time your opponent targets a Tzeentch demon within 6 inches of a friendly model with Locus of Trickery and makes a hit roll, that, after rerolls but before modifiers, matches your remaining dice result, that hit roll fails. Whew. It's a long one, that. I do quite like it. I do quite like the Tzeentch flavour of it, but as many people have pointed out, that is a tad unreliable. It might not actually work in some cases, which is not great, but to be honest, I still like the flavour. I do like the flavour, even if it might not be that effective in practice. So, yeah, I mean, your mileage may vary with that one. Then we have the Locus of Conjuration, which is a Tzeentch demon stratagem. Sorcerer's power surrounds Tzeentch's chosen champions, as though we didn't already know that. Use this stratagem at the start of your psychic phase. Select a Tzeentch demon character from your army. Until the end of the phase, you can reroll any failed psychic tests made for friendly Tzeentch demons within 6 inches of that model. Again, that's pretty simple. Pretty simple there. So that's just straight up reroll failed psychic tests. Not exciting. Again, not particularly exciting, but I do like it. And in fact, the fact that that's a locus, as opposed to it being just like a stratagem, it does mean that it's within 6 inches. So in a way that does make a little bit of a difference, because if it was just on a per character or per squad basis, that would be not that exciting and kind of not that fun. But it being a locus, that does mean that it's within 6 inches. So put it in the right place, and you could be getting a lot of re-rolled psychic tests on your little Tzeentch demons, which I quite like that. That's a nice little change up on that one. We also have Flickering Flames. Cackling madly, the Psyker's minions are wreathed in pink and blue flames that leap forth to consume their foes. Flickering Flames has a warp charge value of 5. If manifested, pick a friendly Tzeentch demon unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Until your next psychic phase, add 1 to any wound rolls made for that unit's shooting weapons. Again, it's a within range thing, and yeah, I quite like it, but I don't know. I'm kind of feeling. I felt this with Khorne a little bit as well. But I'm kind of feeling like they're reserving the best for a different faction. Like, just in what they're choosing to show anyway, because that's not bad. I wouldn't say that's bad. But at the same time, it's not massively exciting. And whilst the Locus have been kind of a bit flavourful, I don't know, for some reason that one's just not striking me as being anything special. Although, as we've said before in these faction focuses, the problem at this point is that we've had so many armies come out, there's only so many things you can really do, mechanics-wise. And we've kind of run out of stuff, I feel like. So, stuff like this now, it's similar stuff with different names, and it kind of loses the excitement factor. But, yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's an extra 1 to wound rolls. You can't really complain about that. And any Tzeentch demon unit within 18 inches of the Psycho, most games that is going to be okay. You shouldn't be like hard pressed to find something that will benefit from that. So yeah, no, all right, we'll take that. And finally, this is what I mean, the shortness of it as well. The shortness of it is a little bit disappointing. I was kind of hoping to have more detail, but we're not getting that detail, sadly, apart from the Nurgle one, which looks to be longer. Yeah, so we have a relic at the end here, and this applies to a herald or a lord of change. And I don't know, I quite like this actually. Just glancing at it, the impossible robe. The wearer of this robe exists between several realities at once. Thus, can a demonic commander potentially control Tzeentch's interest in multiple times and places at once to further several aspects of the Great Plan. This effect makes it hard for foes to truly harm the wearer, who flickers in and out of reality in an unpredictable fashion. However, the robe is capricious and has been known to rip its wearer out of reality altogether should he lose control of its powers. Now you see, I'm quite liking this purely because of that description. It just makes me think of the cloak from Doctor Strange, only worse because it will rip you out of reality. Tzeentch model only, the wearer of the impossible robe has a 4+ invulnerable save. That's okay, not particularly exciting, but it is okay. And as pointed out, that can be boosted to a 3+. And in addition, once per game, you can re-roll a single failed saving throw for the wearer, but if the re-roll results in a 1, the wearer is immediately slain. Now, I quite like the random nature of that last bit. Not random, that's not fair. But like, I quite like that addition to that item. Again, a 4+ invulnerable is not anything special, really. It's nice to have, sure, but every single faction has something that does something like that, if not that precisely. Just these little touches of, like once per game, reroll a single failed saving throw for the wearer, but if you get a 1, they're dead. I quite like that extra touch for some of this Tzeentch stuff. I think that's why Flickering Flames didn't particularly grab me, because there's no kind of neat little addition to the end of that. And I mean, the Locus of Conjuration, again, it's not particularly impressive, but the thing I like about it is the fact that it's a locus, so it just affects anything within 6 inches. So that's a nice little change in terms of stratagem for me. But yeah, the impossible robe, as we say, 4+, nothing special. But that extra bit of flavour at the end there, where you can re-roll that failed saving throw, which of course you'd save for the the last wound most likely. I do like that. I like that quite a lot. And to be honest, if you do save it for that, which I'd imagine you'd probably want to save it for that. It's kind of like if you roll a 1, the wearer is immediately slain. That's not great, but on the other hand, depending on what sort of roll you're making, below a 4 could result in them dying anyway. So it's a nice bit of flavour at the end. It doesn't affect stuff too much, but it just adds that neat little Tzeentch touch right at the very end there, I think. Yeah, I mean, I like the overall locus. I like the stratagem that is another locus of Conjuration. Flickering Flames doesn't strike me as being particularly special. I do like the flavour on the impossible rope. So, I mean, we're okay. Like, out of 3, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Flickering Flames isn't bad, it's just not interesting. So, yeah, not too bad there for Tzeentch. And of course, now we get to move on to Nurgle. Now, just at a glance, the Nurgle one has got... It seems to have more. There seems to be more there. Which is a little bit disappointing. I know Nurgle is currently the focus, but I would have liked to have seen a bit more of an even-handed nature for this stuff. Although they're showing off kind of very, very... I don't know, this feels a little bit different. So let's have a quick look. Let's have a look at this. So this is the Nurgle faction focus. So again, we'll just remind ourselves what the overall locus is. And that is each time you make a wound roll of 6+ for a Nurgle demon unit within 6 inches of any friendly model with the Locus of Virulence, that attack inflicts 1 additional damage. Again, not particularly exciting, but it's really pretty tanky, Nurgle, so having that extra damage, not thrilling, but also not terrible, I don't think. I'm not entirely sure it's particularly Nurgle either, but So first up, we have a 1 command point stratagem, which is the Plague Banner. A pervasive aura of pestilence surrounds this icon, causing rusted blades to weep with even fouler and more toxic diseases. How is it possible for Nurgle to have even fouler and more toxic... I'm loving his work, excellent. Use this stratagem before the battle. Choose one of your Nurgle models with a demonic icon. That icon is upgraded to a plague banner. In addition to its normal ability, the power of the banner can be used once per battle, just before the bearer's unit fights. When used, increase the damage characteristic of all plague swords carried by the bearer's unit to 2 until the end of the phase. I quite like that. That's it's strangely it's strangely offensive. Which is interesting. I'm getting a weird feel off the Nurgle stuff at this point. They really seem to be focusing on the offensive stuff as opposed to the defensive stuff. Now, obviously, Nurgle is pretty solid to begin with, but having that focus on attack rather than defense it's an interesting choice to make. It's just an interesting choice to make, and I'm not entirely sure whether it's doing me any favours in terms of getting me kind of excited or hyped for the Nurgle stuff, because it feels off, it feels weird. I don't know how else to put it. That's probably just me. It's just like a weird thing that I'm doing, but yeah. Well, let's shift on. Okay, so I do like this. Keep counting, meet your quota. Add 1 to all hit rolls made for Plague Bearer units within 6 inches of one or more friendly models with this ability. In addition, if you make a hit roll of 7+ for a Plague Bearer within 6 inches of one or more friendly models with this ability, you can immediately make 1 additional attack at the same target with the same weapon. These bonus attacks cannot themselves generate any further attacks. Again, it's more offensive stuff. I'm choking. Nurgle is killing me because I'm not feeling it. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. This is the thing. I don't think it's bad, but there is definitely a strange focus on it. I believe that's from the Spoilpox Scrivener. The names as well. I don't know. There's like the Sloppity Bile Piper and the Spoilpox Scrivener and there's probably another one that I've forgotten the name of. The slimy flip bouncer or something. I don't know. The names are getting a bit OTT for me, a bit over the top. I'm not entirely sure I like it, if I'm honest. Brief coughing fit over. Oh, here we go. Okay, now we're going to talk about Horticulous Slime Mix. That's something I'm interested in. I like Horticulous Slime Mix now. He looks ridiculous, but yeah. So you'll be able to add Horticulous Slime Mix to your Demon army, which is excellent. Although I don't really agree with bring an iconic hero. I don't know how iconic Horticulous Slime Mix really is, if I'm absolutely honest with you, Games Workshop, but I admire your optimism. And he comes festooned with feculent features. Why feculent? Why would you do that? So, the Grand Cultivator, significant bonuses, obviously. So, but let's just read this. I'm just scanning the thing above it. I don't know why. Beast Handler. You can re-roll failed charge rolls for friendly units of Beasts of Nurgle that within 6 inches of Horticulous Slime Mix. In addition, you can add 1 to all hit rolls made for friendly units of Beasts of Nurgle that within 12 inches of Horticulous Slime Mix. So basically, you want to take Beasts of Nurgle if you're taking Horticulous Slime Mix. There is a full-on thing where it's like, take more of those. And I believe they're 25 quid a pop, so I hope you're ready to drop, 75 quid for 3? Not entirely sure about that, but undeniably they do get bonuses with Horticulous Slime Mix. And there's also Seed the Garden of Nurgle. At the end of your movement phase, you can add a new Feculent Gnarlmaw to your army. Set it up within 3 inches of Horticulous Slime Mix and more than 1 inch away from any other models and terrain features. Horticulous Slime Mix cannot use this ability if he performed a demonic ritual this turn. Now that is interesting. That's interesting because the Feculent Gnarlmaw is like a horrendous disease tree thing. I wasn't entirely sure whether those would be coming to 40k or not. They are, I believe, a new thing anyway, and I'd seen a few things talking about it, but I kind of made the assumption, because I hadn't really seen anything to contradict it, that would be a Age of Sigmar thing as opposed to a 40k thing. But no, the Feculent Gnarlmaw will be coming to 40k. So that's interesting. That's kind of cool. I like that. It does make sense to obviously have all of the demon stuff applicable to both games. That's what they've done before. And of course, that's why Horticular Slime Mix is coming to 40k. But yeah, that was one thing where I was like, is that going to be shifted over or not? But it is. So there you go. As for Slime Mix himself, I mean, I like the Beast Handler ability. I like adding the one to hit rolls within 12 inches, and I like the reroll on failed charge rolls. Both of those not bad. Of course, that does require you buy Beast of Nurgle, so if you didn't want to buy those, that's not great. Although I suppose if you've already got existing Chaos Beasts, there's no reason why you can't just run those as Beast of Nurgle, so it's not that big a deal really. And introducing the Feculent Gnarlmaw, it fits his character a bit. I do like that. He is the Grand Cultivator after all, so you'd expect him to be, I say, planting trees, putting horrendous feculent stuff down. I really wish they'd stop using the word feculent. Okay, so what does the Feculent Gnarlmaw do? It's a piece of scenery, obviously, and it's a fortification slot. And it does this. Shroud of Flies, all Nurgle Demon units, except vehicles and monsters that are completely within 7 inches of any Feculent Gnarlmaws, receive the benefit of cover, but you add 2 to their saving throws instead of 1. Remember, invulnerable saves not benefited by cover, if you were thinking that, which you weren't because you already knew that, obviously. And the Plague Bell's Chime, Nurgle Demon units that are within 7 inches of any Feculent Gnarlmaws at the start of their turn can shoot and or charge this turn, even if they fell back or advanced. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I quite like that. Yeah, I do quite like that. I mean, obviously, that opens up an interesting kind of... I think that opens up an interesting way of playing. If you've got Horticular Slimex, and you can stick Feculent Gnarlmaws down at the end of your movement phase, which then themselves will buff existing units around them. I quite like that. I feel like the benefit of cover with add 2 to the saving throws is pretty good. And, yeah, I mean, again, and within 7 inches... allowing to shoot or charge even if they fell back or advanced. Again, I don't think that's anything to sniff at. That's not bad. Obviously, points cost will play a big part of that, as to whether it's worth adopting that as one of your chosen strategies, dumping trees all over the battlefield. But I do quite like that as a way of playing. It's interesting. It's different. Feels a little bit different. At least it's different to me because I've never run an army that does anything like that. So it might not be different to you at all. But to me, I quite like that. Okay, and finally, we will shift on with a little bit of Horn of Nurgle's Rot. Those slain by a demon, crowned with the fabled Horn of Nurgle's Rot, are doomed to rise once more, their soul infected with an aggressive strain of Nurgle's Rot that decays and transforms them oh dear me, come on Games Workshop, that decays and transforms them in the space of a few heartbeats, not decays and transforms them in the space. That doesn't make any sense. The bad grammar / typo literally made me cough. The victim's altered corpse soon stands once more to join the shambling ranks of Nurgle's Plague Bearers. Nurgle model only, roll a d6 each time the bearer kills an enemy model in the fight phase whilst within 7 inches of one or more friendly units of Plague Bearers. On a 4+, you can add a single Plague Bearer model to one of those units. I quite like that. I do quite like that. It fits, it's nice, and within 7 inches of one or more units of Plague Bearers is a kind of nice, flavourful prerequisite to have. I like that requirement. I like that you have to be within 7 inches of Plague Bearers instead of just having like a single one stand up in the middle of nowhere. And a 4+ is not that bad. I don't think that's that bad. Yeah, I quite like that. I mean, it's 50-50, isn't it? So each time you get a kill with that 50-50 chance, if you're within 7 inches, you get an extra Plague Bearer. Yeah, I do quite like that. I have to admit, the Nurgle one started off not weak, but it just felt a bit weird, focusing on the attack side of things. Although technically, I suppose it still has, especially with the Horn of Nurgle's Rot. But yeah, I quite like what Horticular Slimex has got, even if it does mean having to buy Beasts of Nurgle, or just running your old ones. I quite like what the Feculent Gnarlmaws do as well. That's quite an interesting addition to it, and I like the possibility of actually sticking them down in the middle of battle with Slimex, and I definitely like the Horn of Nurgle's Rot. So, not a bad one, not a bad one. It felt very different to the Khorne focus, and it felt different again to the Tzeentch focus, but yeah, I quite like that. There's more in the way of kind of unit profile in there than anything else, but yeah, not bad. I quite like it. Question is, do you play Tzeentch? Do you play Nurgle? Do you play both? Or do you play neither but want to talk about it anyway? What do you think of this stuff? Look good? Look bad? Anything you particularly like the look of? Is there anything in there that you think, yeah, they've done a good job there? Or do you think they just did a terrible job overall? I think it's alright. I think I don't think it's the best series of faction focuses they've done. I don't think they're really doing a lot to build up hype for people who aren't involved in those particular armies, which I think is a shame. I mean, some of the previous faction focuses did a lot to really sell it in a way that I don't think these are. Although that could just be me, that could just be an entirely subjective thing. But yeah, the Nurgle one does look pretty decent to me. I do like the look of the different units that they've shown off for this one. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, as always. And in the meantime, feel free to click any of the links and stuff. There's subscribe, Patreon, videos, all of that crap. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you. And I will see you for the next video. Toodaloo.